Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Again, we want to get right to our update. You are at beautiful Dutchess Stadium, which is a Dutchess County park. Rick Zolzer is with me. I've never seen Rick without sunglasses, so he suggested that I could get away with sunglasses this afternoon.
And you're wearing Ray-Bans, a very fashion-conscious brand. I have Oakleys, which ball players wear.
Well, I appreciate that. Without getting too funny about it, I couldn't read. I couldn't see the paper, so I need sunglasses on. Apparently, that comes with aging.
But you make it look good.
I try. So we're going to jump right in. We're at Dutchess Stadium. We've got a few things we want to talk about as far as updates. We'll get to the dashboard and some of the data points a little bit later. But here at Dutchess Stadium, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk a little bit about summer camps. As you know, earlier in the week, Governor Cuomo signed off on proceeding with summer camps. Dutchess County's Department of Behavioral and Community Health already conducting the review of those camps, and we're now prepared to permit them. One camp, well, not one camp, but multiple camps occur here at Dutchess Stadium. And before we get to that, Rick, I just want to mention that Dutchess County administers several camps at our parks. So if you're interested in participating at Bowdoin or Wilcox Park, please registration for those summer camps open up on Monday. We want to get you right involved. And if you are participating in a summer camp that isn't a county camp, you maybe do it with a private business or someone else, check their websites now. They're if they don't get the sign-ups, they can't necessarily open. But what I do know that the Renegades have a great summer camp program. So what are you guys offering up this year?
Well, normally we have 4 camps, and those camps are predicated around facility usage. But this year, we're going to make the commitment to do 8 camps. And they are day camps, which means if we're fortunate enough to have a season, it won't interfere in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So we are going to do a pitcher's camp with Joe Assanio, where you learn from an ex-major leaguer.
New York Yankee?
Yep. We're going to do a skills camp with the Dave Vanderwater, who runs our travel baseball program. Right. We're doing an advanced camp with Steve Sossler, the head coach at Mount St. Mary College. And we're going to do the classic camp, which has been around since our very first year in 1994. And what's really weird is there are kids from that camp who've sent their kids to that version of the camp in recent years. So this year we're going to do all 4 of those camps, plus 2 girls softball camps, a lacrosse camp, and a soccer camp.
Terrific.
Every week, Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4. Friday is the what-if day. If Mother Nature doesn't like one of those days,
sure,
we have that extra day for the kids to be able to have fun. And we're going to utilize the clubhouses, the luxury boxes, the field is huge, and we're going to limit it to 80 kids. Normally our camps can be up to 120. Yeah. We're going to limit the numbers, and we're going to have a good time, and we're going to learn a lot of baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and softball.
Yeah, we know it's really important to get kids back out, obviously not only socializing, but being active. We think that can occur safely. Our Department of Behavioral and Community Health, as I mentioned, has been working with camp providers to meet certain safety protocols. So if somebody wants to sign up for a Renegades camp, how do they do that?
Call the main office, 845-838-0094. That is 845-838-0094, the same number since 1994.
So there are some interesting things going on here at Dutchess Stadium, and I thought we should at least talk maybe about one of them. And if you wanted to expand on that, you're welcome to do that. But I do want folks to know that we're working with the Renegades to launch, if you will, a 4th of July celebration. We'll start there. Okay. I talked about this a little bit earlier. We're going Renegade. Dutchess goes Renegade on Independence Day. We're declaring our independence and working on simultaneous fireworks displays in 3 separate locations across Dutchess County. One of them here at Dutchess Stadium, one at Rhinebeck Fairgrounds, and then one just outside of the Silo Ridge development. They're participating with us in the town of Amenia. And so it's a car-based activity. We want you to drive in and take part in it, but we know that people need to get out. We know that we need to be safe, and we know that we can do both of those things at the same time. So you guys are going to launch from here.
Well, the parking will be different than normal, because we want the people to be able to see the fireworks, which will be over our scoreboard like always. Right. So in the parking lot, they're used to facing 9D with their back to 84. Now what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to park their cars, socially distant of course, facing the scoreboard. So sure. I got to believe if we can use the intermodal as well.
Of course.
I got to believe we got to be able to get 500, 550 cars in.
Sure. So we're going to advertise that information. I think we have a slide that shows you the fireworks and the details, so you can keep paying attention to it. But we're going to start promoting it. It will be sort of first come, first serve. I'm sure some people may park out on the road too.
Well, they do normally anyway.
Yeah. So what else is going on here at Dutchess Stadium?
Listen, we have been preparing via Zoom meetings every single day, sometimes 2 a day, that if we get an opening day, we are absolutely prepared to do that. We have a full schedule. We have all kinds of promotions, including the celebration of, I believe it's the 25th year I got thrown out of a ball game with a Rick Zolzer bobblehead, the first ever this year, if we get the opportunity to do so. So we're excited about getting our fans back in the building and playing some minor league baseball. So we are preparing like we're going to have a season, and opening night would be the 24th of June.
Yeah, we're going to roar into the summer. We're telling you now. So if you follow the phases, phase 2 is right now. Phase 3 should be June 23rd. That changes some of the business activities that are underway. In fact, restaurants will be able to open to 50% capacity. And then phase 4 are those larger social events. So we're ready to push right into the summer. We think that we have a lot of activities that we can conduct as a community safely, and we hope to be here at Dutchess Stadium. So in honor of the 25th year since you've been kicked out of the place, I'm going to kick you off the show right now.
And by the way, you have way more power than those silly umpires.
No, I don't. Not well. They have a lot of power for the 9 innings they're here.
Like I said on the PA that night, the only way you'll ever get to the major leagues is if you buy a ticket. I was right. Neither one of them got out of single A. Always the best.
Thank you.
A pump.
Thank you. Be well. Thanks, everybody. That's okay. I have to use my hand sanitizer as it is. I don't know where Rick's hands would be. So Philip asked about why no town sports. Philip, I want to remind you that a couple things. We expect that municipally sponsored sports and athletic groups like Little League and what have you will be able to conduct business and have activities in Phase 4. But right now, because those are organized sports, the state is not authorizing them to go forward. However, parks can be open, playgrounds can be open. In Dutchess County, that means our parks are open, our playgrounds are open. If you've not yet seen your town, village, or city park or playground open, they have all agreed to move forward with that process. We meet every Monday and Thursday, all towns, villages, and cities, and they're moving forward with opening the playgrounds. Be a little patient with them. We obviously are transitioning to get these things open and running. I did, however, send a letter today. I joined other county leaders across the state in sending a letter to the governor's office, specifically to the governor. We think that if sort of the informal play can occur, then the formalized play can occur, meaning structured athletics where, again, there's an organization that's responsible for keeping people safe. So we've asked for that to advance. I'm hopeful that it'll advance ahead of Phase 4, but right now that's the expectation from the state. Erica asked a question regarding lifting limitations on graduations. Right now, the state of New York has established that standard, and we have been working with school districts. Again, you can have a car-based graduation, so like a car parade. You can have a drive-in or even parking lot-based graduation where the cars are parked there. Just so you know, to be clear, the guidance from the state of New York, and we've said this to school superintendents, if you're doing a vehicle-based graduation, meaning you're at a at a parking lot or in the drive-in, students can exit the vehicle, cross the stage, and get their diploma. That is permittable. It's approved. We've gotten the green light for that. And I'd argue you can get out of the car to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. Has been asked of us if those things can happen. And quite frankly, as long as you stay near the vehicle in those scenarios, that's safe. Now, the state has authorized the cap that you're talking about, up to 150 participants in an in-person ceremony. I will tell you, several schools have thought, well, maybe we'll have 150 students. This is the guidance we've given them. We don't count the officials in the ceremony as part of the 150. That's our advice. We think that is perfectly acceptable. So then you'd have the officials participating, 150 students in person, and then perhaps parents and everyone else remains in a vehicle to monitor or watch the ceremony from their car. We do think, and Dutchess County has endorsed a plan that Suffolk County and Long Island has put forward that would, in fact, allow much larger in-person ceremonies dependent on the size of the facility. So if you were here at Dutchess Stadium, if everyone's seated, again, basically 6 feet apart, how many people could participate in that graduation? We believe that that's acceptable, and we're going to continue to advocate for that. Why don't we get to some additional news? I want to let you know that yesterday, County Clerk Brad Kendall, who administers the DMV here in Dutchess County. So the Department of Motor Vehicles is a state agency in Dutchess. It's administered by the county clerk, and Brad Kendall is our clerk. On June 15th, you'll be able to begin in-person transactions by appointment only. So beginning June 15th, you'll be able to call, set up an appointment, and then come in person to participate and conduct that particular business. Now, I'm going to ask you to be very patient. Now, we've spent a lot of time preparing for the transition to this, this new way of doing business early on in this transition process. And so please be patient with the DMV staff. Now, on June 15th, that activity will occur at the Poughkeepsie office only. So in-person transaction by appointment at the Poughkeepsie office. 1 week later, the following Monday, it is expected that the Wappinger offices will open to appointment only. Pauling office is going to remain closed for the foreseeable future. The county clerk has obviously have to make some long-term decisions, but it does not accommodate the kind of spacing and limitations on numbers of people that would make it easily used for the county clerk. So DMV in person by appointment begins June 15th at the Poughkeepsie office, Wappinger office 1 week later. And be patient with the staff there. They're all trying to accommodate, so you may have to call a few times. You may have to wait on hold a little bit. We understand. Believe me, they're all trying. But however long it takes, the goal is to make that as short as possible. And when you finally talk to a human being, and you will, please be patient with the staff. They're really doing their best to accommodate. They're under a lot of the same pressures you are in trying to catch up. So just be patient with them. Kathleen asked about why the numbers on the county dashboard are so different. I assume you mean that earlier in the week it was a higher number and later in the week it's a lower number. If you visit dutchessny.gov, you'll see the county's COVID-19 dashboard. Over the weekend, we took the active numbers down so that the Department of Behavioral and Community Health could catch up. We had a lot of data come in. At the same time, we were transitioning from the county's case management program to the New York State case management program. Thousands of files had to be transferred over, and as we did that transition, we thought it'd be a good time to identify even further some of the details that we needed. So we took the time to do that, and now we're back up and active. And as you can see, with just over 4,000 confirmed positive cases over these 100 days, and currently 458 active cases. That's a result of individuals who have exceeded the period of time that we identify as recovered. Remember, there is not a vaccine or a treatment for the disease. There's not a defined recovery. It's just a period of time after symptoms subside. And so we were able to limit that, we were able to get through those numbers, and ultimately we're now down to 458 active cases. Wendy asked about gyms. We've said this before. I very much want gyms open. In fact, there's this term that I've heard used. It's the COVID-15, which is the 15 pounds some of us have put on during the COVID crisis. I don't know if I want to make light of that, but apparently that's the thing. I need to get back to the gym, as most of you who use gyms will want to. Right now it's phase 4, which on our time would be July the 7th. Now we're asking that gyms be open ahead of the phase 4 schedule, and I'll tell you that we're not only asking for that to occur in phase 3, but we also are asking to advance phase 4 from July 7th to July 4th. And we very much want to get those businesses that would be benefited by being open on the 7th to be able to be open for the July 4th weekend. And again, if our numbers are looking as they might, if it's safe on the 7th, come July 3rd, we believe it'd be safe to proceed on the 4th. So we're asking for that direction. We're going to continue to fight for that. We think it's appropriate. As some of my colleagues have said, and it's kind of funny, we all watch each other's updates. I was watching Steve Newhouse from Orange County yesterday, and he, like me and so many others, gets a little frustrated with the contradiction in some of these guidances. So we're asking for uniformity. We're asking for that continued process forward, so we can get some of our businesses open that would have to wait till after the 4th of July weekend. Sarah asked about playgrounds and pools. Great question. Give us an opportunity to talk a little bit about our parks. Remember, county parks have been open this entire process, these last several months or several weeks. We did on Monday already authorize municipalities to begin permitting their pools, or we would permit their pools, begin opening their pools, begin opening playgrounds. The governor yesterday affirmed that. Municipal playgrounds and municipal pools and pools of all kinds can open at the discretion of local governments. We have advised our towns, villages, and cities that it is safe with encouraging some physical distancing, it is safe to open those playgrounds, and we're going to assist in that happening. County playgrounds are open, and we welcome you to take part in making use of those. We're asking again the towns, villages, and cities to proceed in getting playgrounds open, and those are now all able to resume. Marie is asking about outdoor exercise classes. We have asked this for weeks. Every day we're on a call with the governor's staff, the governor's office, county leaders. We're either asking or telling. We believe it is entirely safe to proceed with, in particular, outdoor exercise programming, so long as we adhere to some of the physical distancing. I'd like to tell you to go at it. The state has not yet approved that. However, we're hopeful that happens in short order. How are the fairgrounds in Rhinebeck surviving with the loss of fairs and festivals? The truth of that is that they're struggling like so many others. This is their season. I can tell you that they struggled hard. Andy Imparati, who's a great guy, I like his wife better, Vicky Imparati and Andy administer the fairgrounds, manage the fairgrounds. They, however, report to an independent board. The Agricultural Society is an independent, not-for-profit corporation. They're not beholden to the county. We don't administer them in any particular way, and they don't ask us for any tax money. So they came to the very difficult conclusion that hosting the fair this year was not going to be possible. Now, I do want to clarify one thing. They didn't simply make that decision based on what they thought could happen in August. Right now, vendors come to have to register with the fairgrounds. Those vendors, well over half of them, come from outside of New York State, most of them south of us. Those vendors have had fairs canceled from Kentucky to Tennessee, right on up through New York State, and those vendors need those fairs open to finally end in Dutchess or in Buffalo or at the Great New York State Fair. And because those other fairs had already canceled earlier in the season, many of those vendors are not willing to come make the trip for just one county fair. So it made it nearly impossible for the fairgrounds to administer the fair this season. They are tapping into their reserves, their saving accounts. They're trying to make it as best they can. They hope to have some sort of celebration this year. It won't be the traditional fair, but I can tell you I've not missed opening day at the county fair in 30 years, and I'm sad like you are that that's not going to happen this year. Good time to talk a little bit about some activities that will happen. Dutchess County's Office for the Aging, as I mentioned last time, is transitioning its summer picnic program. Usually we have 12 or 13 picnics across the county in person. Recognizing that maybe we could have those activities where we giving meals to kids or to younger folks. Because seniors are more vulnerable to the disease, we don't want to create a scenario where we're putting anybody at risk. So we've decided to host drive-through picnics this summer. So starting in July, we'll be hosting 12 picnics across Dutchess County, 2 of them a week, in locations, for instance, maybe one right here, where you're going to get an invitation in the mail. We're going to ask you to register. We're going to ask you then to drive to the location. We'll have a meal ready for you. We're going to be buying our lunches from local businesses, so we're going to be requesting delis and cafes across the county to give a bid. We do have to take the lowest, most responsible bidder, but it's going to be a local restaurant, local cafe, a local deli. We're going to spend our money only in our small businesses, where when seniors come, we'll give you that meal. It'll include a nice lunch with a fruit that we're purchasing from local farms, Dutchess County Farms, and milk that comes from Hudson Valley Fresh, a Dutchess County business. So you're going to get an invitation in the mail. Don't throw it away. I don't think it'll have my face on it, but don't throw it away anyway. And make a call, get registered, and we'll see you at a drive-through picnic this summer. If you are a senior citizen and you do need meals delivered, we're still administering and certainly continuing to accommodate our home-delivered meal program. So again, you contact Office for the Aging, sign up, and we have volunteers and staff who will deliver a meal right to you. And we do that we'll give you a meal that covers 7 days a week. So please do reach out to us. Happy to provide you that assistance. So it's just as a reminder, again, we mentioned already, but I want to re-up it, and that is just we've updated our data dashboard. You'll find that at the duchessny.gov website. We went through a transition process from the county's case management program to the New York State ComCare system, which allowed us then to transition and catch up on some data. And it's a good opportunity for me to acknowledge the great staff at the Department of Behavioral and Community Health. You know, obviously we are very grateful to the nurses and doctors and all of the folks who work in hospitals and facilities across the country, and especially right here in Dutchess, the New Vance Hospital System, and of course Westchester Medical and their system, along with those other care providers. You know, you did great work, heroes, over these 100 days. At the same time, most of which behind the scenes, public health employees have been hard at work, and it's funny because sometimes folks will say, well, you should wait for the state to tell us what they think before we make some decisions. I like to remind people that the state is making their decisions based on the data, the analysis, and the context that our health department provides them. So in counties across New York, and certainly in Dutchess County, very professional staff, we're the ones cultivating that data, we're the ones accumulating it, we're the ones providing it, we're the ones going through it, we're the ones detailing it. From our epidemiologist in county government, our epidemiologist, one epidemiologist, although we've had support from individuals out who have come to our aid, and right through our public health staff, including our Medical Reserve Corps volunteers. We've been working hard, and the public health team deserves a great deal of credit. We chose to take the data dashboard down and update it. We could have just kind of left it there, but it wouldn't be accurate. It would have been information that would have been days old. So rather than do it that way, we take it down, we update it, and we put it back in front of you. And we've done that once before. Hopefully, we'll get through this crisis without having to do it yet again. Additionally, want to remind you, as you're off returning to work, there are not only testing requirements the state has imposed on particular businesses, restaurants, hairdressers, etc., but you may choose to be tested, and we continue to monitor and to create accessibility for testing. One site is right here at Dutchess Stadium in partnership with New Vance, but you can get tested at your local doctor's office, so call your physician first. Many of them have access to testing kits that they send off to labs to be determined, so check with your doctor. You can also, however, reach out to us. Visit duchessny.gov/coronavirus testing. duchessny.gov/coronavirus testing will allow you the opportunity to connect with us to get access to testing. Some of the testing is free. If you have insurance, they might bill your insurance, but if you don't have insurance, some of the testing sites are no charge. Some do have a charge, might be your copay if you have insurance. Check first, ask first, and then make that decision. Of course, as you know, we worked with local pharmacies, and the governor extended an executive order allowing pharmacies to conduct testing. That is available certainly at Rite Aid, but other locations throughout our communities. So take a look for that, and be sure that if you feel like you may have contracted the disease, that you do take a test. For those of you who were either interested, happy, or upset that I participated in that protest here in the city of Poughkeepsie over a week ago, you know that Mayor Rollison and I did take part in a test. We got our COVID test. They did both come back negative. We're grateful to know that. Of course, we assumed in the days after that we should sort of self-contain ourselves, and we were very obviously happy to know that we tested negative. If you are seeking a test, again, visit duchessny.gov. Now, let's update you on some of the activities that are certainly underway. You know, the county leaders fought for our small businesses and were successful in getting restaurants the ability to have outdoor dining in Phase 2. Originally, the state had said that would be in Phase 3. We moved that up to Phase 2, so that's, as you know, good news. Very successful first week in the Arlington Business District, but we were there earlier this week. But many communities have come up with creative ways to expand capacity. I want you to know that I signed an executive order on Monday that waived a lot of local restrictions that would have created some roadblocks to getting outdoor dining dining expanded. That included waiving certain local regulations. We did that at the request of and in partnership with the towns, villages, and cities. Your town supervisor, your village city mayor have been just really working tirelessly these last several weeks, and thankfully we have been collaborating together, partnering together, and they put forward a lot of good ideas. Our order waives those requirements, so you'll see the outdoor dining. I also want to mention that order includes the closure of a few roads and parking lanes and what have you. Most notably, and probably the biggest change in traffic, will be in the village of Rhinebeck. My executive order allows the village of Rhinebeck to close a section of Route 308 from the Four Corners there in Rhinebeck to the municipal parking lot. Mayor Gary Bassett made that request, and the village is full speed ahead. We're working with the state DOT so that everything can happen according to their expectations as well. So you'll see some barriers being put up. You'll see folks out eating in the roadway. Very important next step, allows those businesses to expand. And now we're going to continue to do that even into phase 3, because restaurants will still have, while they'll have indoor capacity, that'll still be somewhat limited. So look for that. As I mentioned, parks and pools open, playgrounds and municipal pools can be open. We're permitting them through the health department. They need a permit. We're allowing that to go forward. Garage sales now approved. So if you've got some stuff to sell, remember one person's junk is another person's treasure. Is that the saying? Is that a saying? But garage sales can go forward now. You can proceed, limit the number of people. The state is requesting not more than 10 people, but again, just be considerate, limit those numbers, and that will be very helpful as well. Karen asked about insurance companies paying for testing. Yes, if you do have, now it depends, right? Some insurance companies will pay if you think you've contracted the disease, and then they'll cover it. Some won't pay unless you think you've contracted the disease. But I think in most cases, if you have a prescription, meaning your physician has prescribed the test, the insurance company will likely cover it. However, you are right to be concerned. The state has established this expectation, in particular for certain businesses, to be tested. And frankly, it is just not. It's just not appropriate if you're being forced to have to pay for it. So either the state needs to come up with a way to make sure that testing is free for individuals, and/or insurance companies have to come to some agreement so that you're being covered. It's just it's a big burden. I mean, some people are going to have to pay $300-400 a month in testing in order to just conduct their work, and we don't want that to be so. In most cases, insurance companies are covering. In some cases, they are not. In the state, if they're going to mandate it, it has to come up with a way to provide that relief for those employees. Additionally, want to mention, as you know, we were successful in arguing for houses of worship to have to be able to open at 25% capacity. Again, no one is counting every head, but we ask you to manage that. If you're a house of worship, if you're a pastor, priest, imam, or rabbi, if you have a house of worship opening, please be considerate of the expectation that you hold to that 25% capacity. And we were able to successfully have that happen. That's occurring now in phase 3, as is in-person special education. Now, I said this last week or earlier in the week. The state has provided school districts the opportunity to provide in-person special education services. I can tell you in my own case, and as you likely know, we have a child, I have a daughter with developmental disability. She receives special education services, a tremendous benefit to her. They're asking, the school district at least is asking, is that something we want? And what I would say to school districts, simply because you made the decision not to have them under the expectation you couldn't, that is not an excuse not to reconsider it now. And so I just say this quite candidly. Please be earnest about reviewing that. Every day, the expectation changes, and we all have to roll with the punches. And, you know, you've had businesses who have had to accommodate, governments have had to accommodate, you've had to accommodate as school districts and providers. So please, at the very least, reconsider, if only just to see if there's a way to provide it. Now, that means some students may not need to be in a setting that's in person. Some may be. Make those decisions earnestly and honestly with the parents and the teachers and the students. So that's I think important. In that same line, in that same vein, several questions about, can you have a graduation party? I mean, the short answer is you can. Yes. Now, we're saying all along, keep your social gatherings small. If you told me you were going to have 150 people at your house for your graduation, this would not be the time, certainly not ahead of getting into that last phase, which would be the middle of July, that you would do that. But if you are having friends and family that you trust have all been sort of keeping to the basic expectation, sure, you can have a graduation party. But again, this is not the time to open up the floodgates. So you would want to keep that party small. You'd want to keep it among people that you basically know have been kind of keeping to the personal hygiene, the physical distancing, and the face covering over these last several weeks, so that you're all safe. But that is not prohibited outright. We just ask you to be sensitive to not transmitting the disease. The other is, this would probably not be the party you'd want to invite your grandparents to, and individuals that may have an underlying ailment or some are at risk to the disease. So as we move further into these phases, that is likely to change to a degree, but please keep in mind that you could have a party, but you need to keep it small, and you need to be safe about it, and that is entirely appropriate, and make some of those decisions. Good time also to answer Todd's question: is there going to be another wave of infection? Todd, I do not pretend to be an infectious disease doctor at all. There is every indication that we will likely see some return of the disease. We've seen that in other places that have either opened or in other countries that are ahead of us. The question is, can we slow the transmission and minimize its impact? So that's why this incremental reopening has been the focus of the state. We accept it. It is, however, we're going to push up. Obviously, we're pushing and fighting for small businesses every day. But it is possible that we see a return of the disease in some numbers. We're hopeful that doesn't happen with any severity. And we're just going to continue to monitor it and be as safe as possible. Deborah, tattoo parlors. This has got to be the ongoing question. The governor has said, and the state has announced, that phase 3 includes tattoo parlors, personal hygiene, nail salons, things of that nature. Tattoos and tattoo parlors with safety precautions begin in phase 3. That would be June 23rd. Now, to that end, several of you have followed us on Facebook, and you have suggested that maybe I get a tattoo. So we've decided that under the right circumstances, I might just take you up on it. But we have to figure out what that's going to be. But only to show my solidarity with tattoo parlors who've been closed for too long would I do that, all in sacrificing for the common good. But that would be phase 3, and that has been confirmed by the state. Additionally, have there been more positives since the protesting? There have been positives, but we haven't seen a spike. And listen, you can assign whatever logic or whatever theory or whatever conspiracy you wish to that. Our expectation and feeling is that most people in this region have been following the expectation that you don't travel, that you don't put yourself at risk, and the likelihood is many people who did participate locally in those protests and activities were not already exposed to the disease, and therefore not likely to transmit it, transfer it, or contract it. But we do continue to see positive cases based on the number of tests, and I think that is something to continue to monitor, but no spike in tests. Being asked about Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, the answer is yes. They can be conducted, but should be small groups, socially distant. That, in our minds, is essential. If I know some organizations have been doing those virtually, I know that can't be very easy for those dealing with an addiction. Believe me, we know the challenges that folks have, and so small groups can convene for the purposes of an essential service such as that. We just would ask you, obviously, to engage in the social distancing, and to the extent possible, you would wear face covering when in a group or congregate settings. A lot of questions about the Special Olympics. Believe me, we wanted very much to host the Summer Games this year. We weren't able to do that. They did postpone them. We are putting in a bid to be considered for the games, either the spring or fall games next year, or the summer games in 2 years. So we're putting in a bid. We're hopeful to be able to do that. Believe me, we know how special it is and how wonderful it is to host. We give them games like they've never experienced before. So we hope to welcome them back home to Dutchess County. If not next year, we're hopeful in 2022. So that's important. Jackie asked about visiting nursing homes. Still not allowed or permitted under the state guidance. Remember, nursing homes are regulated by the New York State Department of Health. Obviously, individuals in nursing homes are somewhat vulnerable to the disease. We can't have the disease enter into a nursing home and then, God forbid, individuals contract it. So what I will tell you is that certainly the state is considering ways to do that safely, and I know how sad and troubling it is not to be able to see or be with your loved one when they are struggling. I know it firsthand. But that is still not yet permitted, and we're going to continue to monitor and ask the state for guidance. Now, that said, I will tell you that our nursing and assisted home facilities, their management has been wonderful to work with. They've been coordinating directly with the health department here in Dutchess County. It's been a challenging time for them. It is not right to make them the scapegoat of anyone's concern. They're trying their best here locally. I think the state did make some missteps and poor decisions early on, and frankly, we're going to have to work to ensure that our loved ones are kept safe. And I hope that, in particular, the state learns from these last 100 days. I know that we've learned a lot as well. But as of yet, visiting nursing homes not yet permitted. So if you have a question, please write it down in the comments section underneath the live feed today. As we said, DMV is open June 15th by appointment only, so schedule that. That's at the Poughkeepsie office, begins June 15th. 1 week later is Wappinger. Appointment only, so please, you can come in person, but you have to make your appointment ahead of time. So please do that. Dutchess County summer camps. Register beginning Monday. We have our summer camps administered by the county's Parks Division, and you can start registering on Monday, June the 15th. If you're participating in a local camp, reach out to those, either it's a business or a community that might be offering them. If you reach out now and register now, they'll know that they need to be open, so please do that. We had a question about flying. Is flying safe? Flying may well be, well, it depends, right? You should ask the question if you're flying in a private, sort of a commercial airline. Call first, see what their protocols are. Be aware that they are all trying to keep seats spaced out. They're going to ask you to wear a face covering. We've learned that it may be appropriate. You may want to wear eyeglasses or some sort of safety glasses because you don't want to be in a position of rubbing your eye, rubbing your face, and transmitting the disease. But be aware that if you're going to fly on a commercial airline and they are telling you that they're saving seats, you want to be sure that they're doing it as either it's voluntary or mandated, meaning that in some situations they're going to try to keep those seats empty, but if they get a large number of people booking the flight, they may not be empty, and that might affect your decision making. So please reach out to your airline first. Dr. Wythian, Neil Wythian, the Commissioner of Department of Health here in Dutchess County, he's an infectious disease doctor. We kind of talked about this on Wednesday. It is safe, but you want to take precautions. You want to give yourself a little extra time, and you definitely want to confirm whether or not, if they're telling you they're going to space out seating, that is absolutely guaranteed. Otherwise, you may find yourself in a scenario that you don't necessarily want to be in, and that is your choice, but you should be aware of that as well. Can we get a permission slip for someone who medically cannot wear a mask? Patty, the instruction from the governor's office and the governor's order is, if you are a resident, meaning if you're not one of those business classes that has to wear a mask by mandate, you and I, as residents or customers, are being asked to wear a face covering. If you cannot, for a medical reason, you do not need anything other than to assert your medical reason. If you are a business and you have chosen to only serve those who wear a face covering, and under the governor's order, you have a right to say, you must have a mask to come into my business. You have the right to say that, and you have the right to refuse service to someone who chooses not to. However, you still, as a business, must accommodate someone who has an underlying ailment or disability that precludes them from wearing a face covering. So, Patty, if you're going to the grocery store or you're going to the pharmacy and they say that they're only going to serve people who wear a face covering, you need to advise them that you have an underlying medical issue. They have no right to ask you what it is, and you have no responsibility to tell them other than to assert you have a medical condition that prohibits you from using that face covering. and then they must accommodate serving you. It may be, please just wait till this other customer leaves. It may be, call and we'll provide you that service via via phone call and then appointment. It may be drive-through. It may be we'll meet you curbside. But again, to the business owner, you cannot refuse to provide service to someone who has an underlying health condition or disability and can't wear a face covering. And as a resident, you are under no obligation to advise what your medical condition is. In fact, you just simply need to assert that. No one has any right to ask you, and you're not under any response. Thank you. You're not under any obligation to disclose that medical ailment. Here's the other thing. There have been a lot of questions about this. The governor's order to wear a face covering as citizens does not come with a penalty. The police cannot issue you a ticket. You're not going to be fined if you choose not to wear a face covering as an ordinary citizen. If you are a business where face covering is required for your particular employee or for your particular business, that does have a penalty associated with it. The business person, if you fall in those categories where wearing a face covering has been ordered by the governor, they do have penalties associated with them, and you can choose not to follow them, but you run the risk of being fined considerably. So, ordinary citizen, to and from, please wear a face covering if you can't engage in physical distancing. If you cannot for medical reason, you're not required to disclose that. And a business that refuses to serve somebody without a face covering still must accommodate you. If you choose not to wear a face covering and you don't have any underlying condition, please be considerate of others. But again, no penalty on that. That is an act we're asking people to take in order to be safe. But if you're a restaurant or a barber and if you're a hairdresser and those other businesses that are required to wear a face covering, that is not optional. There is a penalty associated with that by the state of New York. So how many people can congregate at home? Here's the answer to that question. No one is counting. And I mean that sincerely. Listen, we're asking groups to stay within about 10 people. That said, there are two things you should know. One, we can't, no one is, I do not subscribe to a government that comes to your house and counts heads. That's not happening. It's not happening here. We're not going to engage in it. But in the same respect, please don't take advantage of that philosophy and have a big party of some kind. Having 50 people over one afternoon is not in your best interest or theirs. And just, I would say, God forbid somebody is sick, God forbid somebody catches the disease and then gets sick, you do run the risk on your own of taking on certain risk and liability. So, again, you can have friends and family over. You can have neighbors over. We'd ask you to keep it small. The rule of thumb is about 10 people, a dozen people. That said, no one is going to be counting, and we're not sending the police to a residence to count. However, keeping it small is very important. You don't want to put people at risk, and certainly if you are someone who has an underlying disability or ailment or illness, in particular respiratory immunity related, you don't want to be in group settings. You just don't. And so if you're a senior, you still don't want to be in group settings. But I will tell you this, grandparents, if you want to visit with your grandkids and keep somewhat socially distant, absolutely you should do that. Keep physically distant if you can. We recognize that. If everyone is safe and everyone is healthy, make those choices for yourself. Just don't take advantage of it at this point. Stay considerate of the fact that keeping parties and activities small is in everyone's best interest. If you have a question, write it down, add it to the comment section under the live feed. Happy to answer your question. We are live today at Dutchess Stadium, which is at Dutchess County Park. You might know that. We are here to just recognize that county parks are open, county playgrounds are open. We don't have any pools, but county pools are open. If you have a municipal pool or playground, you can open. Town supervisors, village mayors, city mayors have been advised of that. Want to tell you that we're looking forward to celebrating Independence Day and the Independence Day weekend. Dutchess County is sponsoring our Dutchess Goes Renegade Day. We're declaring our independence that day as a celebration of America's independence. And we'll be hosting 3 simultaneous fireworks displays throughout Dutchess County, one right here at Dutchess Stadium, one at the Rhinebeck Fairgrounds, and one outside of Silo Ridge in the town of Amenia. And again, it's all going to be car-based, so bring your drinks, bring your food, celebrate in and around your vehicle. We need you to be safe. It's going to be first come, first serve, and we want you all to participate in that activity. So again, July 4th, we're telling you the fireworks will go off at 9:30, but it's first come, first serve. So when the parking lot's full, we can't have anyone else, but nevertheless, we think we want to celebrate Dutchess County's independence. I also want to take this moment to celebrate a lot of other things going on in our community. In a couple weeks, high school seniors will graduate. I know how heartbreaking it is not to have a traditional event, but be creative. As I said, some schools have 150 kids in a socially distant celebration, and then parents will be sitting in vehicles. Some are drive-through, some are vehicle-oriented. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we're certainly we know that you've earned it. This year, high school seniors, you have earned it. In fact, you should all be valedictorians and salutatorians. You have earned it. That said, we want to celebrate with you, and we want you to celebrate safely. So we know that it's been a bit heartbreaking. I'm sorry about that. The state is holding to this limitation. But a lot of kids are also this week ending their school year and might be celebrating moving on to the next grade. So a lot of kids are moving from daycare and preschool will be moving to kindergarten in September. Some are moving from middle school to high school, and some are moving from elementary school to junior high or middle school. And one of them happens to be my son Jack. So I'm going to take this selfish opportunity to congratulate Jack Henry Molinaro, all fours. I got all fours on his last report card. The kid, as far as I'm concerned, is just doing remarkably well. He's a real blessing to our family. Jack's a great big brother. He's a great little brother. And Jack and his classmates have earned this special shout out. So to his class, to his teacher, to all of his classmates and all those students there at Linden Avenue Middle School in Red Hook, congratulations on moving up. Jack will be moving up to middle school. And so to Jack and to all of those who'll be celebrating those little graduations, you're not necessarily commencing the next chapter of your lives, but you have earned our recognition, you've earned our love, and more importantly, you've earned a little bit of time to celebrate. So to Jack, congratulations. Corinne and I love you very, very much, and you've done some wonderful things. You made us very, very proud. So congratulations to you and to all. We have about 10 minutes left. If you have some questions, please write them down in the live feed below on the Facebook live stream. Please just add your question there. We've covered quite a bit. We're hopeful that we're going to get to some more information over the next couple of days. Remember, next Wednesday we'll be live again. Next Wednesday at our town hall. It'll be a live Facebook Live only. That'll occur back at the county office building with County Clerk Brad Kendall, who will talk a little bit about the DMV. Remember, DMV offices will open the Poughkeepsie office June 15th by appointment only. Call ahead. The Wappinger office will open up a week later. Call ahead by appointment. And when you come to the county office building, you're going to be greeted by our very own Mel. Melody is a wonderful, wonderful woman. You usually see her in the parking attendance booth. She's the official ambassador for Dutchess County government. She's going to be right there in the lobby as you walk in, and she'll welcome you and ask you where you're headed and make sure that you get there. So take advantage of that. And then again, next Wednesday, as I said, we'll be live again on Facebook with County Clerk Brad Kendall. We're going to try to go live someplace else on Friday, I hope. We'd like to highlight another location, and hopefully that'll work for us. But we're trying to take this opportunity in particular to highlight different assets and businesses throughout the county as a way of celebrating and giving them some additional coverage, if you will. Is carpooling safe? Jane, that's a great question. Is carpooling safe? It is. You should wear face covering if you're not from the same household. So again, if you're not from the same household, you should wear face covering. Carpooling, we still think that you can do that. Just be considerate. You don't want 7 people in a 4-person car. So 4 people in a 4-person car, 3 people in a 4-person car, face coverings, shorter distances, but that is certainly permissible, and it's safe if you engage in that sort of basic expectation. Lisa's asking about weddings. First of all, you can have a wedding today, it just has to be small. Remember, in general, the rule of thumb has been these ceremonies of 10 people or less. If you want a more traditional and a larger activity, we believe that'll be in phase 4, which right now would begin on July 7th. We are pushing to move that and push that up to July 4th. There will be some expectations on capacity of room and some other safety precautions, but Weddings should begin in phase 4. I made the mistake early on. Somebody said, when can we have large weddings? And I said, probably not until late in the season, keeping in mind that, large to me is anything more than 50 people. But I don't know what large is to you, but again, a large wedding. I mean, if you got to pay for one, over 50 people is a large wedding. But we've got great venues, been working hard. I want to thank Joe Benora. Joe has led our sort of event venue planning committee for the Think Dutchess Business Alliance, working on protocols and guidelines that venue space like that could put into place. Thankful that he's dedicated so much time to put together some really good plans. And that would be in phase 4. Also in phase 4, we hope, as we said, are those larger social, recreational, and event kind of activities, theaters, large social events, and places like Splashdown, for instance. Splashdown is ready to open. We've seen their safety plan. We feel very confident that they could actually manage it right now. That said, the state is still holding that businesses like that would open in phase 4. That would be July the 7th. We are working hard to get that to happen by the 3rd. So we encouraged Splashdown to begin and businesses like it. If you sell tickets ahead of time, begin that process. Obviously, you may have to face some changes in protocols, but that said, you should be prepared to open. We're hoping the weekend of July the 4th. So that's the expectation. So also, it is safe to go to the doctor's office. Got that question. Is it safe to go to the doctor's office? It is, but follow your doctor's office's protocol. That said, you should call ahead. For instance, in almost every case, you're going to call ahead. You're going to make an appointment. They're going to ask you some basic questions. My 18-month-old son had to go in for a doctor's appointment on Monday with Caremount, Dr. Payne. Thank you, Dr. Payne. It's an unfortunate last name for a doctor, but she causes no harm nor any pain to Theo or to Eli. But a series of questions that'll likely be asked. Have you traveled? Have you come into contact with somebody who may have contracted the disease? That sort of thing. You'll be scheduled, and then likely your doctor's office is likely to ask you to call, and then when you get there, call, and they'll invite you inside. So take those steps. It's very safe. I can tell you this. One of the, it's actually almost a little bit unfortunate in that, we've seen on social media people criticize, well, I haven't heard any doctors or nurses getting terribly sick from COVID. Well, they're working in environments that are much cleaner, much safer than most others. And so I advise that it's safe to get to a doctor's office. It is safe to use one of our hospitals in Dutchess County. Just call ahead, go through those protocols, those steps, and be prepared to be a little more patient. Takes a little extra time. Same thing for dentist's office, same thing for hairdresser or barber. I would tell you, call ahead. It's important to call ahead and wait, and just be prepared for that. Be patient, be considerate with them. So if you have any last questions, ask them, add them to the comment section underneath the live feed. Very important. We made this promise to you a couple of weeks ago. I think it's important. I think it's important that government be very clear with you. And I especially say this now. We are living through some very challenging times. We know that. The governor announced today steps that the state government laws that the state government's taking in the area of policing. Also measures to address racism in the state of New York. I understand this. I was talking to Supervisor Dick Thurston in Wappinger just a little while ago. We did a little podcast together. Listen, the experience of those individuals of color is often much different than the experience that individuals like myself have had. One, there just is a different life experience, and we need to be sure that everyone, the great men and women of law enforcement who do a tremendous job in this community, business owners, schools, institutions, regardless of who you are, we all need to do better. And now is a really important time to search our souls, really to question whether or not we're doing the things to be good examples to our kids, whether or not we acknowledge that individuals of color do have a different experience many times. I know a dear friend of mine happened to be watching my home. I'll say this out loud. Was watching my home a few years ago and had the police called on him. He's a young man of color. I can tell you he didn't look anything like anyone else who lives in my particular neighborhood in Red Hook. We're not a terribly diverse community for sort of whatever reason that is. But I can offer to you that his experience in my neighborhood was different than perhaps it would have been if he were not a young black man in America today. And that is not an experience that can just be sloughed off. This yeah, but mentality isn't acceptable. This yeah, we understand, but it's not so bad. No, it's yes and. Yes, we understand, and we can do better. And one agency that has done consistently well all along, and I want to congratulate and thank Sheriff Butch Anderson, is the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. I want you to know that the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office is federally accredited. And what that means is that they have established standards of practice and training protocols that meet the expectations that many have across this country. They teach continuum of force regularly. It's monthly in-service training, and annually as part of our training with new recruits and new law enforcement. And this is for the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies. They absolutely ban chokeholds and the kinds of absolutely disturbing and inappropriate uses of force that you've seen that led to George Floyd's death and the deaths of others. They enforce that, and they're leading on that in the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Butch Anderson doing a great job. They teach, as we fund crisis intervention, de-escalation, mental health first aid, continuum of force, cultural competency training with our law enforcement. So there are about 8 or 9 very specific steps that the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office has led with. I think they do a phenomenally good job, and we are going to search our souls. The governor today asked the police departments create sort of updates to their protocols and sort of look at their law enforcement agencies. Under Sheriff Kirk and Parati and I spoke already. We're going to take the lead. The Sheriff's Office was already prepared to do this. They're going to work with the chiefs of police and the Police Chiefs Association here in Dutchess County, and we're going to say now's the time. Let's look at the things we do. Let's see how we do them better. But also, let's celebrate the fact that 98%, 99%, most every cop in Dutchess County is trying to do their job to the greatest and most honest degree possible. They need respect and our support for that, and we're going to continue. We're going to fund the training and the support services that they need, because absolutely it's necessary. But now's a good time to search our souls and to really demand of ourselves to do better. So my promise as an American is to do better for the people I serve. We're going to hold a forum later in this month or early next month, where we're going to talk to people about what their experience has been in this community as it relates to race. It's important that we listen to each other. It's also important that we reaffirm our commitment, which is this. As we take these steps over these next few weeks and we continue to communicate with you, we're going to live up to this challenge and this expectation. We're going to work with others. We're going to collaborate with our partners. We're going to continue to be exceptionally clear with you about what we know and don't know. We'll be upfront and honest. Sometimes you say to me, I don't like your answer. Well, it's an honest one. If I don't have the answer, it's the one we're going to give you. If we have an answer, we're going to give it to you honestly and straightforward, clear-eyed. And we're going to be specific about the things we expect of one another. And at the end of the day, our goal is to protect lives while also working to get back to life. So join me in thanking the Hudson Valley Renegades, our hometown team here at Dutchess Stadium. Dutchess County parks are open, playgrounds are open, restaurants are open outdoors, pools are open, garage sales, dentist's office, barber shops, doctor's offices, lots opening. We're going to continue to push, and we're hopeful that in the meantime, you stay safe, you stay healthy, and that we all continue to be kind to each other.